time to try and be inspirational and write something, I'll tell you. But I had other stuff going on this week because I have my digital courses. My very first one is launching right now too. So it's like, there's just a lot going on. I feel overwhelmed a little bit. So, but you told me to take a stab at writing my keynote.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I think it's pretty good, actually. What I've written so far.
Do you want to read it to me, or do you want me to read it, or?
Yeah, well, you know what? I keep getting stuck on like the outline, right? Like that's really where it's like I'm stuck. And I also keep getting stuck on which stories I want to tell.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much decided that I don't want to go into the gruesomeness of abuse, because I don't want it to become about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to tell enough about it that I want to, because it's only one part of my life. Like it's only one part.
Yeah.
But it really does speak to how little I valued myself, right? So, and that's the story of worth, right? So there needs to be parts of it, but I don't know that it needs to be all about that.
Sure.
But I have the turning point kind of nailed down. That the turning point, I remember it very specifically. I had my toddler, and then I had my two girls, and we were delivering papers. So this was after we left our home and we're going to restart our life. And we were in an unsafe neighborhood, and I was getting my girls to deliver papers so that we could make ends meet. And I was like, enough. I'm not doing this anymore. We deserve more than this.
Great story.
There's no way we deserve more than this. I deserve more than this. They deserve more than this. And I'm breaking this cycle of scarcity, and I'm going to do this. So anyway, I specifically remember that. And I also remember there's another part, and this is a big part of what I do and what I teach. So I feel like it should probably be in the story.
Yeah.
But I felt like I'm 40 years old and my life has literally completely shifted and didn't turn out as I expected it to. And I made this decision that we're worth more than this, and I'm changing it, and enough is enough. But then I didn't have any direction. Because every dream I had was gone. And I thought, I'm old now and it's too late. It's like, I have no clue, right? So what happened was I went back to the drawing board, and I decided I was going to make a vision board. And it was an unbelievable event, because I was leading these people in my sales organization, and yet I had no direction myself. So we were going to be doing this retreat, and I had brought the supplies for them to make vision boards, but I was like, I don't even have a vision myself. Like, I'm a complete disaster. So, but what had happened was the night before I was robbed. Like someone robbed me and stole my purse, with the keys to my vehicle in it. I was literally left in a remote city with my cell phone in my hand with no charger. It was almost dying. I got robbed. And even my kids' birth certificates were in there, because we had just moved, and I had put them in the side pocket of my purse, and I was set up and I was robbed. And then I got a phone call, and it was the very first time I let my 16-year-old on the highway with her brother and sister, because I was at this thing, and they had a flat tire. They were on the side of the road. I couldn't go help them. It was this terrible situation. Every fear I had was happening, and I didn't even know what I was going to do. So instead of trying to face these women the next day and fake it, I was like, I got to find direction myself. So I was flipping through magazines. This is in my book too. And I was flipping through magazines, and I was like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what I like. I have no idea. I've looked for my family. I've looked for everything else. Everything I thought was going to happen for my life didn't. And now I don't know what to do. And I flipped through this magazine, and this little tiny ad, I don't even know what the ad was. It said first after 40. And for some reason, this big light bulb went off, and I was like, maybe this next phase of my life could be about trying things I've never gotten to try and finding out who I am. And I could try things for the first time. And when I explore that, maybe I'll figure out who I am again. Maybe I'll find out what I can do yet. And that little tiny message, I reference it as like a message from some higher power. This tiny little phrase that was messaged for me to realize that it wasn't over, and that this stage of that right now could become about, it's not too late, it could become about reinventing myself. And I had to try things for the first time, and I had to open my mind to possibilities. And that really restarted my life. So then that's where, and even my company was started as a result of that, because I got excited about my life again. And I started holding these vision board workshops, and these women started coming to these workshops, and they were all the same as me, lacking direction and didn't really know. So then I hold these workshops. Those workshops then inspired me to start holding master classes to help them get their vision. And then I started holding one-day conferences, and then the company's born, and oh my goodness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really kind of all started there. So those are stories. There's one other story that I think connects to the message of worth. You have to own your story. You have to own who you are. You have to own what you've done. And it's a story about my mom, who never worked outside of the home. And she has 8 children, all really quite successful children. And she's a farmer's wife. That's how she saw herself. That's all she is. She's just a farmer's wife. And never had her own income, never had her independence, right? Anyway, one day we were gathered for brunch, and my sisters and I were setting the table and stuff. My mom was frying eggs, I'll never forget. So she's standing over the frying pan, she's frying some eggs for brunch, and then she starts to cry. And we were all like, what's going on with mom? Like, I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen my mom cry in my entire life. And she started crying. She said, I've done nothing with my life. I haven't achieved anything. I haven't, she really felt like she had no purpose. Her kids are gone from home. She hasn't achieved anything. Her life isn't of value. And of course we were like, Mom, but look at what you've done. Like, look at your 8 children you've raised. That's like the most important job you could possibly have. But my mom couldn't own her value in this. We have to own our power of one as well. And we have to open ourselves up to the possibility of owning our power, that we can't belittle ourselves to the point that we think we're not valuable. That's part of worth as well, right? Is to own it.
Yeah. And so tell me tell me about more about that story. So I get it. I can hear the eggs. I can see the tears.
Yeah.
When you said
we were all shocked, and we were like, but Mom. So then we started talking with her about, but look at your kids, and do you think Dad could do all of what he does out in the, the farm? And if he didn't have you, like, it's a team effort. Just because you're behind the scenes doesn't mean, like, if Dad had to take care of us kids, he couldn't go out and do what he needed to do. If you look at my brother who owns a business, if you look at my sister who runs a hotel chain, if you look at me who's an entrepreneur, we've impacted a lot of people. And it was because of the roots that you gave us, Mom. Like, you did that. But there's 2 parts of the story. My mom couldn't own her power of what she did, her power of one, but she also was missing something. And that's a thing. I think sometimes we're just missing something and we don't know what it is. So we downplay ourselves to the point that I'm trying to say what else? I'm trying to think here. Yeah, we just feel like we're missing something. So we go looking. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to be in that place of like what's missing, but you can't use it to beat up on yourself. My mom was using it to beat up on herself because she was displacing it. She was displacing that, like beating up on herself instead of just like, I feel like something's missing. So my mom ended up going and getting her very first job after 50 years old,
So she went and got a job.
Yeah, that fulfills her. It creates a sense of purpose in her life, right? So
at what age?
I think she was 55 actually. Yeah. So like at 55 years old. So the thing is it's never too late. Like for me, it was after 40. For my mom, it was after 55. For somebody, it might be they, in high school, they make a decision that they want to become, they going to go to university to be a doctor, and then they go and they become a doctor and they don't love it, but they could be like, okay, well, I'm trapped here now and I have to stay in this situation because I spent all this money on university, or it's too late. I've done this, I've invested all this, but it's never too late. Like your feelings, your thoughts, everything are an indication of like something. You can reinvent yourself at any time you choose to. And you deserve it. You deserve to do that. This is your life. Like, don't waste it,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyway, I'm trying to pull this, as you could tell, I'm trying to pull this all together. So those are the, oh, well, thank you. These are, I feel like it's just so many messages. So I'm just worried about losing people in it. But then I did what you said, and that what do I want them to get? I want them to own their worth, decide for themselves what their value is, and own it. I want them to forgive themselves, their past mistakes. So if they've made mistakes, and there's this quote from Maya Angelou that is, if you knew better, you do better. So it's like, forgive yourself. Like if you would have known better, you would have done better then. And now that you do know better, you'll do better. Like it's okay, right?
You want them to own their worth. You want them to decide. What was the second one?
Decide for yourself what your value is.
Okay. Forgive their past mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. And whose opinion are you valuing? Are you, giving value to the wrong people? Like I teach in my master class, this story of this mentor of mine said to me many, many years ago, I had earned this very prestigious position in my sales organization, and my mom wasn't happy for me. And I was crushed. My mom was like, oh, well, whatever. She downplayed it. And I was crushed. And my mentor said to me, well, is your mom an expert on your business? And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, we all have different experts in our life. We should categorize it. Your mom might be someone that you value about raising your children, but she doesn't know anything about your sales organization. So why would you value her opinion about what you've just achieved there? So it's like, whose opinion are you giving value to?
Yeah.
Because that downplays our worth, right? We beat up on ourselves because it's like we go to that one person is the be all and end all, and their opinion matters and everything. But really, we have a choice as to whether or not we value that opinion.
Yeah.
And that speaks to worth.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
And then the power of one. And then I also want them to stop giving up your power to things. So like, people give up their power. It's like they give power to an opinion. They give power to a situation that's out of their control, and they get all angry about that, and it eats them up, and they give up their power when they do that. Or they react to a situation, like learn to respond and to not make decisions when you're emotional. So it's like, stop giving up your power, like own who you are, own your power.
Mm-hmm.
Like women complaining to me that their husband doesn't pay child support, and fighting over that. And they waste all this energy and they give up all their power. Well, you know what? That's not within your control. What is within your control is what you do to raise your child now. And are you sure you're not missing something that you could do to actually replace that income instead of wasting it all over there, like trying to get other people to do things you want them to do?
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Do you want to read me what you wrote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
I'm kind of scared though, I gotta say. Like I'm not for a second saying that it's perfect. I can tell you that.
Oh, we're messing around. All we're doing was messing around, but yeah.
Okay. Shoot, just wait. I saved it. I was working downstairs, but then it gets so cold down there. My hands start to freeze, so I move upstairs, and I didn't save it in the drive. So just one sec here.
Sure.
How are you doing though? Can I just check? I know we're not really like friends. You're my coach, but I have wondered about you, how you're doing with the whole breakup.
Oh, I'm way better. Last week was very messy. Very messy. And this week I am much. I had a couple of tough days. I think my body just still releasing, you know. Today I think is my first day where I feel like I'm actually more home than not home, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Good.
yeah, so I'm all
Well,
right.
that's pretty big progress, like in a week.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's pretty awesome, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because I mean, if you keep on the same track, like 2 weeks from now, you're going to be even better and you'll be stronger and more solid. I don't know. Something's always at work and something's always like we look back. Oh, there's another message I'd like to send them is that in the moment of chaos, I got to write this down. In the moment of chaos, sometimes we can't see it, that it's all going to work out. And it's like, you just gotta know. Like I say to them I say this all the time, that you're one decision away from a completely different life. And it's like, if you think right now about one decision that you made or something that happened that was so terrifying, so scary, so hard, and in the moment you just can't see it, but when you look back on it a year from now or 5 years from now, you go, wow, that's the best thing that ever happened. Like, I'm so glad it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't see that when you're in it.
No. And just want to, well, I'll listen to what you've written, but I want to remind you, one of the things that's going to help you with, I want to make sure I'm not talking about everything and I'm losing people, is you want to tether every story you tell, every bit of information that you're giving in your talk. You want to tether it to your main message, which is about purpose, right? You are worthy and you have purpose. You are worthy and you are on purpose. So even that beautiful reminder that in chaos, sometimes we just can't see it. You could tether that to, but we know that there's a purpose on your life, and that looking back, you'll go, oh my gosh, if I had done that, it wouldn't have led me here. And this is more on purpose, right? Like everything leads you closer to your purpose. And even the shittiest things that happen have purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean to tie them up in a pink bow and make them positive if that's not how they feel, but it still has purpose. So that's all. Just want to make sure that's okay. How you keep it clear, is you tether everything. You ask yourself after you write it, what does this say about purpose? How does this take them further into purpose?
This is so good. You're so good.
Thank you.
Even you are, because even like the divorce as an example, there's a purpose to I mean, in the chaos I could not see it, but I'll tell you, none of this would be happening. I couldn't have grown in that relationship. I would have never started my company. I would have never been able to support my kids the way that I did. I would have honestly never even tapped into my power. Never. If I had not have gone through that. Yeah. And I would not be able to help all the people that I'm helping now if I hadn't experienced that. There was such a big purpose to it.
So going back to remember, also keeping always in mind that I had the question of when is it that when do you serve people? When they believe they're powerless and they feel trapped and they feel worthless, right? So again, there's the woman who may go back and think about a divorce. Sometimes we go, right? Like you're recognizing, I never would have done that. I never would have done that. I never would have done that. I would have been trapped. I would have felt worthless. And I actually would have believed I was powerless. But now look at me. I have purpose. I have power. I'm not trapped. And I have worth. Right?
And now I can help you with that too.
Yes. That's what your audience is waiting for from you. And honestly, Corliss, one of the biggest thing about you with the power story is it wouldn't matter what you talked about, you would be powerful, right? Which is a bit of a trap, because it wouldn't matter, as a gift and a trap. It wouldn't matter what subject I said, go talk about this. You could do it and you could bring power to it. But your whole life has prepared you to be a master at supporting people when they feel powerless, trapped, and don't believe in their worth. So that I always come to your home, your mastery, your mastery is around that feeling and giving them the reminder.
Can you say that again? My whole life has prepared me for what?
All of your life experiences have prepared you to support people who feel trapped, who believe they're powerless, and that they don't know their worth. They've lost their worth, or they've never felt their worth. And so while you can talk about anything, your greatest impact is with people in that state, because you have lived that state multiple times in multiple ways. Those things that happened to you happened on purpose.
Yeah.
For the purpose of your life. And all that is my way of saying, Corliss, I know that you could talk about anything, but let's talk about the thing you're here to talk about.
Right.
Okay. And
when you say, because it gets mixed up a little bit in my head,
okay,
which is not a surprise because I have a lot going on in my head. I think it's why I get so, it's like, oh my goodness. But when you say that I have power, so my talk is not about, what do you mean when you say power? Like you're just saying that that's a natural gift that I have?
Yeah.
Okay. Power meaning presence.
Yeah.
Strength.
Just going back to Oprah, right? Like you walk into a room and the light goes on.
Okay.
Wouldn't matter what room I walked you into, the light would get brighter when you walked in.
I do have that. I got to own that. I do have that.
Yeah,
I do. I do.
Yeah, you do. And probably, honey, the vulnerability you're experiencing this week is that I just keep naming it for you. Mm-hmm. I just keep naming it. And so you're right up against, really? Yeah. Like your heart is opening. You're exposing more.
It's just so bizarre to me. I was on the treadmill yesterday because like to get some exercise to try and clear my head, and I started bawling on the treadmill. And I was like, and I was like, what on earth is triggering this?
Yeah.
And I was like, I know what it is. It's like, it's so hard to believe that I have this.
Yes.
Like I am literally worth this, and I'm literally going to be able to change lives everywhere. Like I just found out this morning that there's like, she said, we're going to have standing room only in this auditorium. I hope you know. People are so excited about you coming here on November 5th. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to stand on a stage. Like, am I really that person that has that? And I'm so afraid of disappointing people.
Oh, honey.
Like, am I really that, you know?
Yes, you are. And the freedom in it, honey, is that it's not yours to be, it's not yours to be in charge of.
Well, I almost feel so grateful. Like, thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity. Like, I feel like it's something more than me.
It is, honey.
Yeah, I think it is too.
That's how you know you're on your purpose.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to get too churchy, but it's the way God works through us, or it's the way Source works through us.
Yeah. I believe in God, so you don't have to worry about saying that. Yeah.
It's the way God works through you. And and I really, 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 really understand what you're talking about. In my when I stepped into ministry, I had to go through this discernment thing, like conversation. And my third meeting with all of the ministers, I just couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. I cried through the whole thing. And it's exactly what's happening for you, where I was like, really? Am I really supposed to do this? Like, really? I'm really? And
I feel like I'm gifted an opportunity. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And I don't know if this is your version of it, but I used to sit with, who am I to? And not who am I to, like I don't have enough self-worth around it. It was more the reverence of the work. Like, honoring the work so much, I never wanted to fall short because it mattered that much. And I have an advisor in my life. His name is Chris Durkee. And he said to me, the very fact that you ask that you actually ask, who am I to, is the very reason why you can. Because it's in the place of humility where we actually give over to God, source, and work in tandem with God.
Yeah.
You show up on stage, you as a human with all of your skills and stage presence and knowledge will stand up on stage, shake hands with God, and let God do the work while you hold the container.
Truly. That's what I feel like is happening here.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let go, sweetie.
Yeah.
Let go and follow.
Yeah.
Let
Totally.
go and trust.
Yeah. I know I give it to God when it gets too hard for me all the time, but it's not that this is hard. This is like another side of this. It's like, I am so humbled that I have an opportunity to do this. And it's like every single thing that's happened in my life has prepared me to do this.
Yes.
This is what I'm supposed to do.
Yes. Yes. And something I want to add a layer to giving it over to God. When you give it over in this scenario, it's a different kind of giving it over because you are the vessel. So it's not, I give it to you, you solve it. It's, right. I'm with you. I am your vessel.
Yes. Truth. And I'm so humbly honored that I get to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I just hope I'm worthy. See this? I hope I'm worthy. That's the thing. And it's like interesting. My whole talk's about worthiness and purpose. And yet I hope I'm worthy to be able to serve these people and to share this message, you know?
Well, you know, it's really beautiful. I think when you dive into what the experience of worthy actually is, it's much like the experience of bravery or courage. The experience of worth, courage, and bravery doesn't feel brave, courageous, or worthy.
Truth. That is so true. Huh. Yeah, I know. People always say to me, "You're so fearless," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" But I do have courage. So I go and I do it anyway. The only way to become fearless is to do it, to be brave first. Like, you have to be brave first.
Yeah. And worth is like that too.
In order to feel not worthless. In order to feel your worth, you have to put on confidence first.
And you have to risk feeling worthless.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, in order to be courageous, you have to risk getting your head cut off. Right? Or to risk feeling, it's like your worth, if worth was a well, like a well of water, every time you showed up from a place of, oh, maybe I'm not worth it, but you showed up anyway, your well gets more water in it. Oh, I don't know if I'm worth it, but I'm going to show up anyway. Your well gets even more water in it. But it's the constant practice of, I don't know if I'm worth it, but I don't know if I'm worth it, but I don't know if I'm worth it, but. And you're giving yourself worth by saying, I'm showing up in the state that I am. I have worth. And then your well gets bigger, bigger, full, more water, more water. Like, really, if you look back at your path to setting up for this stage, getting to where you are now, whatever you thought your worth was 3 years ago and could embody worth 3 years ago is very different than embodying your worth now.
Yeah. Very true.
It's not
and you're right that it was like, I just had to keep showing up. I just keep showing up and I'd show up and then I'd be like, you know what? No, I can. Yes, I am. I am this. But then there's all the old demons of like ego, right? Where it's like, if you own your worth, your ego, like if you own who you are and the things that you do. But I have a different take on that because it's not about building myself up. It's about showing up so that I can bring more to other people. So it isn't about ego, and I can be proud of it and own it that I showed up anyway, because when I show up and grow me, I am becoming me to be able to give more to other people, and it's not ego.
And you know what though, sweetie, whether you gave this to other people or not, you still have worth. You don't have worth because you have to give it to other people. You have worth because you have worth. Because that's that weird trading. Nope. That's that weird trading thing, that negotiating thing we do. If I do this, then I'm worthy. And if you make me a big star, I'm worth it to be a big star because I'm serving lots of people. No, you're worthy of being a big star because God made you like that.
Okay, I need to ask you about that. So when you hear the term "make your life matter," what does that say to you?
Live the gift God made you as.
It doesn't mean that you don't matter, right? Because that's certainly not how I intended.
No, I don't think that.
I don't think that either. I think people who are in that place where it's like they don't believe that they're worthy of anything, and then it's like, oh, you're telling me I have to make my life matter. They'll feel defensive with that, but that's not what this message is. What this message is: make your life matter by owning who you are, being who you are, and going and contributing it to other people.
Yeah.
And intentionally choosing to do that.
Yeah. You could, if you wanted to make it clearer, maybe just take the word "make" out because it implies doing.
Right.
You just say your life matters, or.
Well, but I'm trying to inspire them. And that's what I trademarked, is the "make your life matter," because I'm trying to inspire them to actually rise to the occasion.
Because you do
like do something with it.
Yeah.
Do something with it.
Yeah.
Do something. Don't sit here and it'd be like me sitting here knowing that I've got all these things that I can share with other people and I don't choose to use it.
Yeah.
That would be, it's like, it's not. You want to feel purpose in your life? Own who you are, recognize your gifts, value your own worth, and then go and share that with other people. You'll feel purpose. You will automatically. You just will when you give that. You have these beautiful gifts, and because you're sharing them with me and you're helping me gain clarity, you've got to feel fulfillment in that and purpose, because I hope you know that you're empowering me to change thousands and thousands of lives, because that's what I'm going to go and do. And you're helping me do that. That's how I feel like you're making your life matter by helping me do this. You know, my mom's life mattered by the values that she set in me and the commitment that she showed and the example that her and my dad were for us. And it's like, she was and she is, you know. Anyway, I'll read to you what I've got. Act 1.
Okay.
Do you know what the best part of getting older is? You have you know what? It did not save. What happened? Okay, I have to go downstairs. Okay. I'll read it off my other computer. Okay. It did not save in my Google Drive. Hang on. Okay. Oh, it's so cold down here. I do not like the basement. I'm going to move my office as soon as my son's ready to be not sleeping near me on the same floor. Okay. Here it is, right here. This will be the first time I read it out loud. Do you know what the best part of getting older is? It's not the gray hair, the extra weight around the middle, or the wrinkles. It's that you have a way better understanding of who you are and you recognize opportunities to be grateful. This is one of those moments. Thank you so much for showing up here, for your warm welcome, and for giving me the opportunity to be a part of your life. Today, we're going to talk about some really big things. We're going to explore what you know, what I know, and together we're going to learn some new things. In the next 90 minutes or so, I want to help you find your power, recognize your purpose, and give you inspiration to become the leader you're meant to be. Does that sound good? I realize many of you, or maybe even all of you, feel you're meant for something more, but just don't know what. I know you may be searching for the purpose of your life and haven't been able to connect to it. I can almost guarantee that each and every person here has had terrible things happen to them in their life, and that these things were unjust and cruel and wrong. Life can be really hard sometimes. I also know that these events
may have made you doubt your greatness and crushed your belief in yourself. Maybe there are people here that feel trapped in a situation and maybe don't know how to get out, whether it's a toxic relationship, a job that doesn't fulfill, or that they have so many responsibilities they aren't free to create the life that would make them happy. You know why I know this? Well, because I felt all of that. I have been there with you. But I know something different now. Aging is truly a gift. Now that I have figured some things out and I'm still alive to tell it, I get the privilege of sharing my experience with you to make your life better sooner than later. Here's what I know for sure. Your life has purpose. You have more power than you know. You are valuable just the way you are. The past doesn't define you, it's prepared you. Success is an inside job, and it's never too late to become the person you want to be. All of us have endured pain, felt powerless, and doubted our worth. You are not alone in these. But I also know that at some point you have to say enough is enough and step up to lead your own life. I believe you have the power to do that, and your moment of triumph is going to be in that decision. Now this is Act 2. I didn't recognize I came from a world of love. I'm the third oldest of 8 kids. I grew up on the farm, and as you can imagine, there was a lot of chaos in that big family. From my parents, I got my entrepreneurial roots, and through their example, I learned to work hard, have faith, and rise above challenges. I was about 8 years old when I had an argument with my mom. I don't recall what it was about. I was probably in trouble for fighting with my sister again and felt I was being wrongly accused and punished. I announced that I was running away. My mom had a laugh as I packed my backpack. Probably knowing I wouldn't get very far because the nearest town was 20 miles away. I remember walking down the lane, then crouching behind the sign that had our family farm name on it, and repeatedly peeking to see if anyone would come looking for me. I waited a long time, and no one came. With nowhere to go, I was forced to humbly go back to the house to face the humiliation from my family. It was in that experience that little Corliss decided she mustn't be very special, as she could just disappear and no one would care. But it was likely also when she made a decision that as soon as she could, she would prove them all wrong. There are dozens of other experiences like this from my early years that made me make some decisions about who I was and who I wasn't. We only had 2 channels on the farm, but a show called Melrose Place was aired on one of those channels, and it was my favorite drama and soap opera. There was a character in the show played by Heather Locklear. She was a ruthless businesswoman who no one messed with. I would fantasize about how someday I would be that powerful. You see, when we are younger, we make decisions about ourselves before our brains can understand the truth. As an adult now, I understand everything that happened, but the little me didn't get the whole picture, and I grew up believing I was unimportant, a burden, a problem, replaceable, and ultimately not worth loving. These feelings of unworthiness led me to make other choices. At not quite 15, I found a place to go and how to get there. As a pretty insecure and sad teenage girl, I was an easy target for narcissistic men to prey on. One promised to cherish and love me forever, so I married before my 20th birthday. Finally, I was going to have the love I wished for my whole life. As you may have guessed, it wasn't the happily ever after I dreamed of. My outside relationship matched my inside one. I was constantly told I was replaceable, not worth anything, and this constantly inspired me to prove that I was. I spent the next 20 years trying to prove I was something. It motivated everything I did. I created a multi-million-dollar business, earned trips all over the world, had 3 kids, built a mansion, all trying to prove my worth to the outside world. I pushed myself to be the best at everything, and it was exhausting. And no matter what I did or what I accomplished, I didn't feel like it was enough because I didn't think I was enough. I was living a lie. I knew this couldn't be the way that life should feel, and yet I didn't know how to change it. I hated feeling powerless and worthless and was always fighting to prove I was something, just because I didn't value myself. I was treated poorly, and though I tried to stand up for myself because it was wrong, I always ended up feeling somehow it was my fault because deep down, I thought I deserved it. There's an African proverb that reads, "When there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm." I was my own enemy. But I could survive it because I learned to survive it. Beating up on myself became my norm. I was conditioned to believe this was who I was and this was what my life would be. The problem was I hated who I was in all of it. I felt like a victim. I felt bad about who I was in my relationships. I hated what I was teaching my kids, and I really didn't like feeling like a fake and a fraud. I wanted to change my situation, but I just didn't see a way. I recall saying I was leaving if things didn't change, and heard the response, "Go ahead, you're a dime a dozen." Remember my deepest fear of being replaceable? Those kinds of words kept me in my place and paralyzed by fear. I doubted myself to the point that I wondered if even my own kids would be better off without me. But one night, I was forced to say I'm worth more than this. Things escalated, and I realized no one is coming to save me. Maybe I can't do that part. Anyway, I'm going to have to say that different. This is my life, and it's my responsibility to change it. As the days were passing by, so was my life. All my excuses of I don't have enough money, I can't do it on my own, I don't have anywhere to go, were all just me not believing I deserved better than what I was living. So then where I was going with this and never got there was I mustered up the courage. We went from our dream home, a 2-bedroom apartment. We were making ends meet and the paper route. And that's where I was going. But that's as far as I got. Am I even on the right track?
Yep. And your work is there's a couple things. You're totally on the right track. Where you are, where it's not serving you.
Okay.
Is you've got
It's a long story.
You're actually telling us too much about you, which of course puts you in the place of being emotional too.
Totally.
So that's the problem in what you've written so far. And what I can hear is I can track where it's going to end up. So to me, Act 1, the impact is worthy. Act 2, the impact is valuing yourself. Act 3, the impact is power.
Okay, say that again. Act 1, what?
Act 1, the impact is worthy. Act 2, the impact is valuing self. And ultimately, Act 3 is you are powerful, not powerless. So I could hear that in there. And so what we need to do is...
So where does my story come in? Sorry. Does my story come into all 3 of these?
Yeah, but they're not, it's not one long story.
Right.
It's going to be 3 little snippets that seemingly random. Like it's it doesn't have to be a linear story. I was 8, I was 14, I was, my mom.
Yeah. Which is good, Steve. But like Brene, she talks for almost 20 minutes about her story, all the details.
How much time do you have on stage?
Well, they're 90-minute keynotes, right? So that's why I was like, how much do I tell of the story? Because she tells a very long story. It's a very long story.
You have 90 minutes?
It's always 9. They always hire me for 90-minute keynotes.
Wow. Okay. Okay. That's then, yeah, you, okay. So if you're going to tell your whole story, and Brene never tells her whole story.
No.
Right? She just tells 3 in-depth
stories.
Pieces. Right. So then you've got 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes.
Right.
So that let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's block this out. So Act 1, you've got the first 10 minutes, you are earning the right. You are establishing.
And do I tell a story there?
Probably. Okay, so that's the first 10 minutes. You're going to earn the right. You're going to establish the mood, the tone, and where we're going and the impact. Then you have 20 minutes to take us on a journey into self-worth. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. That's okay.
20 minutes of what?
To take you on, oh, sorry, not 20 minutes, 15 minutes. No, 20, yeah, 15 minutes, which is a journey into self-worth, because that's what Act One's all about. You are worthy. There are going to be some principles about worth, blah, blah, blah. And then the last 5 minutes of your first 30 is all about, it's your hook into the next act, right? It's about how great you can be when you own your self-worth, and all the obstacles, like the humanity of self-worth. So you're hooking them into how worth now leads you to valuing self. So I'm just going to write hook and greatest possibility, because it's like a roller coaster, right? You're taking us up the hill of your greatest possibility, but as we're going up, we're thinking, oh my God, but what if I'm not? What if I'm not? What if I'm not? Just like a roller coaster. Oh my God, I got to come down the hill. I got to come down the hill. I got to come down the hill. And then that's your hook.
Well, this is also, it's like, it all serves a purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's the hook.
Yeah. That's great. Actually, that's a bridge between all acts. It all serves a purpose. Beautiful. Okay. So then Act 2 is a really dense one. Usually Act 2, you do the most teaching, and you're going to break down how to value yourself. You're going to break down who, what, when, where, why, and how of valuing self. And you'll throw a story in there.
How to value yourself, breakdown. Who, what, where, when, why.
Yeah. Of valuing self. And then again, your bridge is about purpose. And then the last act is very similar to the first act in that it has the first 10 minutes are all about establishing their new reality, right? Their new way of being, their new way of living.
Okay.
Then you've got a 15-minute ass-kicking story, like balls to the wall. If you risk big in the last story, it's got to be the most risky. It doesn't have to be the most painful, but it's got to have the biggest risk, not for you, but for them. So
okay, give me an example of what you're thinking, knowing things I've told you.
I think it's possible. And just look at the stories that you've told. I think it's possible it's the teenager story. It's not about what happened to you as a woman after the teenager story. It's the teenager story which set up the woman who thought maybe she was worthless. But then, so like if you tell the teenager story where you're like, you show how easy it is for us to believe that, to fall into a path where we feel worthless. And then you tie that up with, you could tie it up with, it could have gone this way for me. And parts of it did. Like it could have gone this way where it was dangerous and blah, 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 and parts of it did without saying anything. Or it could have gone this way for me. The truth is it went both ways for me. And now I'm here to tell you that you are powerful and you blah, 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 and you can. So it's like, I think your risky story isn't the details about being, the battered woman. it's the details about how easy it was to fall prey to that. I think that's a really universal concept, and you want to end on a really universal concept where everybody in the room goes, oh my God, that's me. It's not that as a teenager you followed a guy who made you feel like you had worth and then, abused you. It's not about the guy. It's about when we feel worthless, we follow things that might take us there. And then you end on your mom's story. So you do a super duper, you do the risky thing, and then you make us feel super safe. You're going like, let me tell you about my mom. Mm-hmm. My mom raised 8 children. We knew she had worth. Everybody knew she had worth. But one day while she was making breakfast, mm-hmm. she turned and looked at us with tears in her eyes. And she confessed to us she felt like her life had no worth. Right? And then you close with something like, I want you to know I see your worth, just like I saw my mom's worth, blah, blah, blah. Okay?
Okay.
So, and it doesn't have to be that, but that's where my brain is going, because I get that you want to avoid the battered story, because it's still way too painful and takes you out. And the mom story is not strong enough to be the risky one in the middle. The one behind the gate, I think, is your opening story, because right from the get-go, like is in your first 10 minutes, it's all about relatability and earning the right to be listened to. And there's nothing better than listening to a story about a child. Like the whole room with you, they'll be like, oh my God, I like her. Oh my God, I'm that kid. Right? Mm-hmm. So I think you open on your 8-year-old story. Then you take us into the self-valuing, and that's where we're going to dig today, is in Act 2. And then you close on I think the teenager story and your mom. But remembering, we're anchoring each act into impact. So Act 1, your impact is all about worth. Act 2, your impact is self-value. And Act 3, your impact is power and purpose. Everything happens on purpose. And Corliss, when you're ready, which is not now, but when you're ready, I will help you shape the big, painful story when you're ready in a few years. Mm-hmm. Because it never doesn't ever have to be shared, but there's so much good that can come from it. Mm-hmm. And but it's just not now. And I get that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm loving everything you're saying. I'm not grasping the teenage story at the end for the risk big, because the risk big, maybe I'm just not getting it yet, but.
Well, maybe there's another story. Tell me another story that might be.
Okay. And Tom, what is this story supposed to do?
It's the one where, so you're closing with power, right? Power and purpose. So you've got to show us how, you've got to show us what powerless looks like and purposeless looks like, so that we understand what power and purpose.
Okay, well, can I just blurt this out, like what's going on? So, like, if I wouldn't have known the relationship with my husband, yeah. I wouldn't, and how powerless and worthless I felt in that relationship, I couldn't have known the love and the how deserving I am of the relationship I have now. There was a purpose to that. It's like I couldn't have started my company if I hadn't been an entrepreneur for 26 years and had it go flat, where I felt like I didn't have purpose with it anymore. Because when I was with it, I had purpose. I felt like I was changing lives. I was helping people through the sales opportunity, but then that just got dead. And then, so now it's like I recreated into, now I'm going to go and do that, but in a different platform, like from a different space. But I couldn't have known that if I hadn't had that. So it's like every experience that life has, whether it be mine or theirs, serves a purpose to get us to where we're supposed to be today.
Yeah. And so what if you didn't believe that?
Pardon?
What if we didn't believe that? Because that's a story, which would be very powerful.
Oh, what if you didn't believe that everything's serving a purpose that's happening to them now?
Yeah.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be about you. You can be a fictional person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if, like when I was a teenager, like I left and I had a cousin take me in.
Mm-hmm.
And I credit, because like I feel like my life would have ended if I had kept going the way that I was going. And she took me in. And I tell her all the time, you need to understand, like, you're creating a tidal wave here, because if you went to taking me in, it's actually her that did it. It's not me. What she did for me has led me to be who I am. She's actually the one who's starting she started the tidal wave when she opened up her home and her heart to be there for someone.
Okay. So
it's, yeah.
She started the tidal wave. So
she didn't know she was starting the tidal wave, but she started the tidal wave.
She was just on purpose.
Yeah.
So is it possible that your belief is that when we live on purpose, we create tidal waves? We create tidal waves.
Totally, because that's the power of one, right? That's the power of one. The power of one is like one individual can do anything.
So here's where I want you to be careful. And it's actually not careful. Here's where your mastery is, frankly, is when we show up on purpose, we start tidal waves of goodness, in the world. If you were to send people off, go start tidal waves, they might think that their power, that they don't have power. They go create power, which is not what you're saying. You're saying you have power. And when you own your power and make decisions in that place, tidal waves happen. And that the power of one isn't the power of doing as one. It's the power of being one that does. Am I getting that right? Because you're not trying to go out there and make a whole bunch of doing machines, right? But you're also not trying to make a whole bunch of being machines. You're saying people who be their one and do from that place change lives.
Yes. Well, in my 3-hour presentation that I did for the psych nurses in Saskatchewan, I told the story of my mom.
Yeah.
And then I showed them the power of one. And I talked about the power of one, and that my mom wasn't owning her power and recognizing, and until you own who you are and what you bring, it's going to be very difficult for you to see that your life has purpose, because you're not even embodying it. It's like it's out there. You have to own it. So I did this scenario of like I had a PowerPoint and it just had a circle. And then it's like my mom is the center of that. And then each person, and then I put each of us kids, and it's like my brother is a farmer. And when I asked my mom what farmers do, because she comes from the farm, it was in that same conversation over eggs. I had said to Mom, well, what do farmers do? Like, and she said, well, farmers feed humanity.
Huh.
That was her exact response. And I was like, okay, that's pretty big, Mom. Not only are you and Dad farmers, but now you have a farmer who feeds humanity. I see purpose in that. And you created a son that has this very successful farm. My sister, she influences people every single day through her hotel organization, right? So she is a leader in that. She inspires people. She teaches work ethic. She, helps them rise, teaches them skills. I'm an entrepreneur. I've personally led more than 3,000 people just in my sales organization. I've helped them establish goals and recognize that they have to have work ethic. And I've done those things, but I got that from you. So I did a kind of a demonstration of like each little bubble that came up. And it was like, now let me ask all of you, does my mom's life have purpose? Right?
Boom. Act 3 right there.
Power of, like, my mom has the power of one, but until my mom owns that, right?
Yeah, that's your act 3. That's it. That's it. And so then the big, powerful, risky story is that you're letting us into your personal family, right? You're saying,
now I asked my mom if she's willing for me to share. My mom doesn't know I've shared this before.
oh, I don't think she could.
But she still doesn't really own her power, so she might not love it.
Right. And you know what? That could be your joke, actually, at the end. I think I own my mother's power more than she owns her power. Don't let me do that for you. You can own your power, or something. Okay, so that's beautiful. That's your act 3, is your mom's story. So the big risk you're taking is you're saying, come and meet my family, right? So that's your big risk. And it's really soft and loving and beautiful.
I have a brother that, like my one brother, when I was first given the opportunity to work with Jack Canfield, I was in this panic of like, there's no way I've got this opportunity, but now I have to come up with the money to do it. And my brother, without even blinking an eye, his exact words to me were, I'm going to give you the money, because if I was ever I invest all the time. And if I was to ever invest in anything, I would invest in you every single time. You're a sure thing. And I was like, but my mom instilled that in him. Like, so now I get to go do good because we're all connected and we all have that power. When you own it, you can make such a big difference. You just have to look at what you're doing.
Can you see, you might be on the inside, so you might be able to see it. Can you see how all of this is self-worth? Can you see how it's all in the same story? Like, this is the perfect ending because it starts with worthiness, right?
Okay.
And then we go into self-value, which is a little more cognitive, right? Recognizing where you have value, why you have value, how you have value, when you have value, all of that.
Okay.
Or you may have missed your value, right? And then we go into tidal wave, which is power.
Right.
Like and you said start a tidal wave, but it's, next level life, like whatever your closing sentence is, your call to action to the crowd, it's your thing. Like, I can totally see now that your mom started a tidal wave just by cooking breakfast at for 8 children day in and day out. Like, your mom started a tidal wave. And if you do the diagram, if you're able to show the diagram, not that you have to, but if you are, or have them do it, like have them have a piece of paper. Do you have a pen and paper? Have them, one person in your life, and track a tidal wave. Here's my mom. These are the values of my mom. This is right. And then, which touched me here, which touched my brother here, which touched it. And then you can do what you just did. When that person touched me, my mom touched me, it actually touched 100,000 people.
Right.
My mom touched my brother. It touched his business, which touched, 50,000 people, whatever. But you show the tidal wave, you go, oh my God.
It's pretty powerful. And I even did that. I actually learned that through my sales, because when like people I was talking about in my company, they'd always have me speak about this, about how what we do matters. Like, who I am matters and my work matters. And when I start somebody, so let's say I sponsor you and I start you and I teach you how to all these skills. Now you have all these skills and you go and you start 6 more people. But then those 6 people each do that. And it's like, it has such a dramatic effect from the efforts of one individually intentionally serving someone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Totally. And then the device you use so that it has impact. So you end of act 3. So you're doing the big tidal wave thing. You're showing how it ripples, right? And then you have to take us very briefly all the way to powerless. So that's powerful. And then you take us to powerless. But here's the thing. So it goes something like this. Here's the thing. What you don't, and you don't have to drop this bomb, but you could say, what you don't know about me, and I teach this stuff, is that once upon a time, there was a marriage I couldn't get out of. And I actually thought I might not live through it. You don't have to say, it could be that, or it could be or it could be powerless. And so I show you all this, all of this tidal wave. But do you know that my mother, one day, and you tell the story, was standing at the stove, and she looked over at us crying, thinking her life was worthless. So like, take us all the way up to the top, and then take us all the way down to the bottom, and then bring us back up again.
Bring us all the way down to the bottom. Okay.
And the body, don't leave us in the bottom too long. You're just taking us there to remind us what powerless feels like, so that we go, ugh, and you're taking us on an emotional, you're giving us an emotional experience. And then you end with a beautiful call to action about you are the power of one, go start your tidal wave or whatever.
Well, light the world.
Yeah, go light the world.
Do you know, in the center of my vision board that I made after first of 40, I cut out a picture, and I've shared this at all my talks too. In the center, there's a picture of, there's a lineup of matches, and then there's a flame. I was going to show you. I'm losing my words here.
Yeah.
I'll just show you. When I reclaimed my power, this is what it looked like. Sorry, how do I flip it around? Anyway, I don't know can you see it?
Yeah.
See right there?
Positive vibe, mind, yeah. Purpose, 2000. Is it the flame in the middle? Oh, yeah.
So I'm the flame. I'm like, that's what it was like. I'm the one who lights others. That's what I do. Yeah. And when I light one, the other one lights the other one, the other one lights the other one, lights the other one. And that's my power of one. That's my symbol every day. It's right the heart of my vision board, because that's who I am. That's what I do here.
People in that room will have cell phones, right?
I think so, yeah.
So show them that. Say, do at the end, you say, I'm going to turn my flashlight on in my phone. Here's okay, over here, I want you all to turn your flashlights on. Or, okay, first 3 rows, turn your flashlights on. Next 15 rows, turn your flashlights on. Blah, 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 and show them, this is what it looks like when we're all lit up.
Beautiful.
Super simple to do. Okay, so we're going to jump into the second act, because I can see it's the hardest one. Okay. It's the cognitive. And just so you know, when we close this call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a breakdown of Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 with suggestions, because I want you to have something to work on. So it'll look like things like establishing rapport, tell us a story, earn our trust, earn our trust, have them ask them 3 deep questions,
So you're going to give me an exact. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to ask you, can we schedule a call for early next week? Only because I changed my whole plans for this weekend to work on this. Cole's going to go to his dad's, and I'm going to work on this. I was overwhelmed this week with it, so I need the weekend to just be free to write.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Totally. Okay. So let's jump into Act 2, because Act 2 is your biggest teaching act.
Okay, so I don't need to write right now, because you're going to write this down?
I will write this down. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me a little bit. I need to understand the principles, kind of. So Act 2 they're like the bullet points, right? They're the teaching points.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit?
What I want them to learn.
Yeah, of what you actually want them to learn. And I think it's around valuing yourself, right? Like valuing your power.
Yeah. Decide value. It's what I gave to you at the beginning there, I think, unless I've got it wrong, what you're asking for. But basically, decide for yourself what your value is, own it.
I'm very famous in my the people that follow me, that the past doesn't define you, it's prepared you. So that's about the decisions and choosing, right? And forgiving past mistakes. If you knew better, you'd do better. Letting go. I feel like people have to give up the things, like give up resenting other people, give up playing the victim. There's things they have to give up in order to stand in who they are, stand in their power. You have to give up blame. You have to give up complaining. You have to give up, you should forgive people and just like move on.
Okay.
And then whose opinion are you valuing?
Right. Okay. So this is all Act 2, just so you know.
Okay.
You will circle back, like you'll circle back in Act 3 for sure.
Okay.
And introduce it in Act 1. But okay. So decide what your value is. Tell me about, tell me why, tell me why it's important.
Well, it's important to decide what your value is. Well, because you're an adult now. Like, just because the things that happened to you back there happened doesn't have to define everything about you right now. Like you're an adult. You can decide, you know what? I'm worth something because I've learned this, or I've got this skill, or I'm this kind of person. I do the right thing even if people aren't looking. Like, you can make those choices. Those are choices.
Okay. And I think you're just giving me the how. I was going to say, tell me how they decide what their value is. And it sounds like you just gave me a, like, kind of take stock of your life.
Yeah. Like, take stock of your life, and yeah, like, stop belittling yourself. Like, that's the other thing you have to give up, is that we belittle ourselves. Like, everything that I would accomplish when I had no worth, I would literally just belittle it and be like, oh, that's nothing. Even if somebody paid me a compliment, I wouldn't really take it on. I would be like, oh, they're just being nice. I would crush everything that, and people do that. Women do that all the time. It's like we don't embrace it and own it, so we can't take stock of our life because we don't.
Okay, so just back at the train. And
Sorry.
And that's okay. Lots of us are good at this. We're really good at saying what not to do. So I want you to tell me what to do. What is the how of deciding what your value is? What do you want? What are you telling them in the audience to do?
Say thank you and embrace it.
Say thank you to what?
To compliments. Talk nice to yourself. Like, have positive self-talk. Like, become aware of your thoughts and how much you're beating yourself up and how much that's damaging how much you value yourself and what your worth is.
So are you saying that if I said thank you to compliments more often and I had some positive self-talk, I would be deciding what my value is? Because I think we're missing it.
I would be embracing what my value is. Give yourself permission to embrace your value. So when someone compliments you, you say thank you, even if it doesn't feel real. Start practicing, like, embracing your goodness, your greatness, instead of embracing everything that you're not. Embrace what you are.
Okay. So principle number 1 of self-value, valuing yourself, is embrace the value others see in you.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
Right. Believe the compliments you're given.
Yeah. That would be one, but I think that's down the line, because first you have to give it to yourself. First you have to give it to yourself.
Okay.
And that's what I mean by decision. It's like, first you have to decide for yourself, this is who I am and this is what I am. And I take stock of your life. Like, you have good things, credit yourself for them.
Okay. That's very clear. When you say that, I know exactly what to do. So
Okay.
That's your first one. If the first teaching point is decide what your value is. The exercise is, this is who I am. Make a list of all the things you know are great about you.
Right.
Make a list of all the compliments you get.
Yes.
Make a list of the skills you're proud of.
Yes. Yeah. The
That's
things
what
that
you're doing.
you learned.
Okay.
Like credit yourself for those things.
So it is a taking stock. Now, when we teach something, we often start with the backwards version of it, which is what you also did. So if you start with embrace what your value is, you'll quickly tell a story about, how it's easier to believe the naysayers than it is, the compliments or whatever. So always open with the bad habit we have first. So tell us what you like. Here's the teaching point. Decide your value, because here's what we do. We do this. Here's what I want you to do instead. Do this. And the result will be this. Okay, so each teaching point follows those 4 steps.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll write those down for you.
I was just going to say I gotta write those down.
Yeah, no, I got it. And the bad habit, or the bad habit, limiting belief, whatever, the negative approach that we do. Instead, I want to do this.
Yeah, stop doing that. Stop doing that to yourself. Like, stop doing that. That's playing on your how much you'll value yourself, or on your self-worth. So stop talking bad to yourself too. Like, oh my goodness, pay attention to your thoughts and how much you beat up on yourself.
But you know what, Corliss, you got to be really careful. This is what, again, a lot, like, you're not the only one in this camp. It's a habit for experts to talk about what not to do, but nobody leaves a room changed if they only know what not to do. It's like, you gotta give it to us what to do, right? Okay. So I love that, so do this instead. Take stock of all of this. And then it's believe your compliments. And then what else would you have us do? Would you have us affirm it? Like, what's the practice?
Affirm it. Yes. Affirm it. So affirmations. Remember I told you that I get them, my masterclass people, I get them to wear an elastic. They're in that process this week. They wear the elastic, and every time, just to pay attention to their thoughts. So, like, get very aware of what's going on in your mind. And each time you have a thought that doesn't serve you, just gently snap the elastic to snap yourself out of it and replace it with a thought that does serve you. So something that's more powerful. And so instead of like, oh, you're so stupid, you did that again. How about you're brilliant, how often you're learning? Like, change it. Change how you talk to yourself. Become aware of your thinking, and then change it and replace it with a thought that does serve you. Affirm it.
Okay.
Affirm it. Morning and night. I have them doing that morning.
We've got to embrace your value, or decide your value. And we're going to do that by sharing a bad habit about how we don't decide, or we decide our poor value. And then we're going to give them a practice of, I want you to do this instead. So take stock. Okay. And then, so what happens after we start believing in our value? What is the result of deciding our value?
Well, you feel like you have something to contribute to other people, which is, it has purpose, right? Like, as soon as people start recognizing their worth, then they start believing that their life has purpose because they can do something with it. Like, they're worthy of it.
Yay! Right? Yeah. So decide your value. Because here's what we do. We tell ourselves we're not smart enough, we're not blah, blah, blah enough, we're not da, da, da. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take stock of what you know you're good at, what people have complimented you for, the the things that you're skilled at. Take stock at them and then create a affirmation about those things, your top 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
When you start doing that, you will start to feel like you have something to contribute to other people. And the result of that is my life has purpose.
Yes. It could be a declaration statement. It's like, I call it the purpose statement in my book, but it's like, take stock of who you are, what your natural gifts are, what people say you are. What do you naturally contribute? Like, just who are you as a human being? If you don't know, and you can't even take on, because you feel so bad about yourself that you feel like you can't even take on compliments of like what my gifts are, then just decide, like, and then put it together in a declaration of, this is who I am and this is what I bring to the world.
Awesome. Okay.
And when I do that, I can stand in it every day. This is who I am. And it's like, it doesn't matter what happened back there. It doesn't matter how I felt about me. It doesn't matter, because who I am today is this person. This is what I bring to the world. And when I do that, I create purpose in my life.
Beautiful. Great. And that's the beginning of a tsunami too, right?
Yes.
Or a tidal wave.
Yes.
Which is perfect, because now we're right on track. That is step 1. Step 1, declare your value. It's not decide your value. It's not embrace your value. Step 1 is declare your value. You've already coined it, so use it.
Beautiful.
So step 2, I wasn't sure if this is part of step 1, but you said own it. Is that part of step 1, or is it separate? Is owning it different than declaring?
No, I think well, it's part of it. You got to own it. You got to give it to yourself. No one's going to give it to you. You have to give it to yourself. You have to say, that's why people get so lost. What people do. So here's the thing. What people do is they look for everything else on the outside world to tell them that they're worth something, but it's going to fall on nothing. It's going to be like talking to a stone unless you own it yourself. You have to embrace it. That's on you. That's the part where you have to be like, you're right. It is me. You have to own it, and you have to declare it, and you have to stand in it. No one does that for you. And what we have a tendency to do as human beings is we look to our boss to give us a promotion at work. We look for our mother to tell us we've done a good job. We look for our kids to praise us. We look for all this outside approval. But until you own it yourself and say, this is who I am valuable. Until you do that, and like, till you own it, you can't declare it, and you won't be able to live it.
Right. So step 1, declare your value. Step 2, give it to yourself.
Yes. Damn it. Yes. Damn it.
Step 3, this is, past doesn't define you. It's prepared you. So what are we saying here? We're saying trust the process.
That everything has happened for a reason. Everything has happened for a reason. There is no mistakes here. Everything has happened. Any trauma that you've gone through, anything, but so often, you know that saying, we look at the door that's closed and we miss the opportunities. What's that? We look so long at the door that and it's like, we do that, when really what we have to understand is that everything has a purpose, and it's all happened for a reason. It's prepared you for who you are right now to be able to fulfill something even greater. And but what we have a tendency to do, so this is what I can say to them, right? What we have a tendency to do is we long for things to stay the same. We wish that wouldn't have happened. We stay in that place. And because we stay in that place, we don't recognize the opportunities that are coming from that, and that it has a purpose. And that it's only when we fast forward 5 years and we look back and realize, oh my goodness, that all happened for a reason. And I'm so glad it did, because I couldn't be experiencing this had that not happened.
Mm-hmm. I want to caution you around the line, everything happens for a reason, because it's so used.
Yeah.
And so people won't even hear it. When you said there are no mistakes, that has way more oomph to it. Okay. Got it. Okay. So step 1, declare your value. Step 2, give it to yourself. Step 3, there are no mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Step 4, forgive past mistakes. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know that I would say mistakes because you just said there are no mistakes.
Yeah.
Although that's the juicy bit. If it was just forgive.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Okay.
Just forgive. Because that means forgiving yourself, but it also means forgiving other things. Like, I really believe everybody's doing the best that we can. We all are with what we know. And like, that's part of owning it. Like, this is your life, and there are no mistakes. And whatever's happened, or whatever you would consider a mistake, it really isn't. Because if you knew better, you'd do better, and it's prepared you and had a purpose to help you grow into who you are today. Just like the wrongdoings of other people. When you're bitter or resentful, or you're living in that place, it's going to be very difficult to move on.
Okay, but tell us, how do we forgive, Corliss? I get it, but how do we forgive?
By acknowledging that if we knew better, we do better. And everyone was doing the best that they could.
So what's an act of forgiveness you can assign us to do?
You mean a story? Or
no, like, tell us, like, if I was to leave your workshop and I'd be like, okay, now I got to go practice what she preached me, I wouldn't know what to do about forgiving. Am I saying I'm sorry? Am I blessing things? Am I saying thank you? Am I
bless and release? Just practice bless and release. It's like I bless, or I believe, not bless and release, but more like it always just comes down to, I believe everything happens for a reason, but it serves a purpose, right?
What would I do? What's the do? What's the do? Because transformation doesn't happen in our heads. It happens, when our head connects with our heart.
Well, it's maybe I can't speak to the one about them forgiving whatever a wrong that someone else has done to them, but they can forgive themselves.
How do I do that, Corliss? How do I forgive myself? Am I saying I'm sorry? Give me something to do. How do you forgive yourself?
I give myself permission to recognize that I just didn't know better. It's like do
you say it to yourself when you're driving? Do you?
I do. No, I journal it. Actually, that's where I journal. I do a lot of journaling around like the things that happen and just letting it go, and that it's okay because I did the best that I could.
So is that what you write?
I write that, yeah. Self-talk. I have to think
hard.
About that.
I can see it's like, which is good. It's good because I want you to see the vulnerability and forgiveness, and you need to take people right there. And it's going to be like one line. It's going to be something like I don't know, like, I'm not saying you have to use this at all. I just know my forgiveness practice so for me, when I hit deep shame, I'll get like this kick in my stomach, and I actually want to like turn away almost. And I usually am driving for some reason. I'll be driving and I'll just see that moment in my head, and I'll say, oh, Tina, I forgive you. You knew this and this and this and this and this then. You didn't know this now. I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. And then it actually goes away. Like, there's not many things that but like the things that, like, where I actually can't breathe, I'm so ashamed. That's what I do. And I want you to have something like that.
Okay.
To give to your people. It could be, if it's journaling, if what works, if your suggestion is, I want you to go get a forgiveness journal. And every time something holds you back, I want you to write in it, I forgive you. I love you. I see you.
For some reason, it's hug your little girl.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. There. That's the practice. The practice is I'm going to call it an okay hug. It's okay hug. Give yourself an it's okay hug.
Yeah.
How's that? You can.
Yeah, I can do that. And that is something that I do. It's like, I didn't get the love that I was looking for, so I give it to myself now. That's the part that I'm talking about the little girl didn't get what she needed, right? So it's like even the mature woman who didn't get what she needed from her husband. Like, I'm not going to say this in the talk, but it's like, I can give that to myself. It's like, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And if you felt weak there, it's okay. If you made a mistake there, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Like, you're growing, you're learning, it's okay. And that's also what I mean by permission granted, right? Give myself permission to forgive myself.
Yeah. Beautiful. Love it. Okay. The last thing you said, not the last one, then the last one or maybe this is part B of forgiving, is letting go. Oh, no, I think it's different. You said give up playing the victim, blame, complaining. So step 5 is let go, or step 5 is give up or something.
Letting go, like giving up all like things like resentment and blame and resentment, blame, guilt. Guilt. Oh my God, women are so guilty. So it's like, if we just give those things up and just recognize that we were doing the best that we could. It is part of forgiveness.
No, I think it's different. It's like, because once you've forgiven yourself, the next step would be to give them up.
Mm-hmm.
Give them up.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful. These steps you've got for self-worth, for self-value. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to declare my value. Mm-hmm. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it to myself, give my value back to myself. Mm-hmm. The third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to acknowledge there are no mistakes. Mm-hmm. The fourth thing I'm going to do is I'm going to forgive. The fifth thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it up, give them up.
Yeah, give up all those things. Like in my presentation, give up all the things. So what I'm doing, like in my presentation, I have helium balloons on a weight. And it's like, I'm talking about releasing yourself from that. Like, just, you have to give these things up. If you really want to, like,
oh God, I love that.
So it's like each balloon has like guilt. You're going to have to give up feeling guilty about that. And then I talk about guilt, right? And then I cut it, but the balloon goes up. And then, you have to give up being embarrassed. Who are you? Whose opinions are you valuing about that? Why should you be embarrassed about that, right? So I give up all these things. You're going to have to give up blaming that person that hurt you. You're going to have to give up these things. And then it's just a visual of like,
you know what, you could do this, because you probably don't want to open up helium balloons in a place.
No.
But you know what you could have? You could have a pin cushion with pins in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
and or like a ball of yarn with big knitting needles, so it's easy to see. And you got to give up guilt. Take a pin out. Mm-hmm. Give up blame. Take a pin out. Mm-hmm. Just because it's really visual. And then you go, and now what can I do with this yarn?
Yeah.
I could make anything with it because I've given up.
Yeah.
That just popped in my head,
Yeah, beautiful.
Step 6, whose opinion are you going to value? So this sounds like a safeguard. It's actually not a step. It's like now that you've done all that, you're pretty vulnerable, you're pretty open, you've just given up all this stuff. So your safety is, whose opinion are you really going to value? This is like your closing statement.
Yeah. And like make some decisions about that ahead of time. And I can even share, like, we have a tendency to go and, take people that are in our lives and we give them all this power because we value their opinions, when really someone that you might value their opinion about parenting children maybe knows nothing about your business and you shouldn't give them the power. But instead you take, and I use the example, actually, this is the example I use. My brother-in-law is a mechanic. He works at a dealership and he fixes all the Toyota vehicles. And I know zero about cars. Like I know nothing except push the gas, put it in drive. That's all I know how to do. I know nothing about what's under the hood. I couldn't even put in my own windshield washer fluid. So I arrive one day at the Toyota dealership and I go into the back and I tell my brother-in-law what he should do with the engine as he's looking under the hood. Should my brother-in-law value my opinion on that? And they're like, of course not, right? Well, of course, it would be ridiculous if he valued my opinion on that. I know nothing about it. And yet that's what we have a tendency to do. Mm-hmm. We have a tendency to go to people who know really nothing about what we're talking about, and then we give them all this power by valuing their opinion on something.
And people give their opinions. How many here have gone and gotten an opinion from someone you didn't even really want, and then you go ahead and you give it value, and we apply our worth to that they know so much more. We give it up there, and we don't need to do that.
So what do we need to do? We need to, I love it. It's like
we need to make decisions ahead of time. Who would I consider? Whose opinion should I value in these different areas of my life? Like, I would make a decision as an example. Actually, you're a great example. I would value your opinion about my keynote, because this is something that you know about and you're good at and you're powerful with and you're skilled at. I should value your opinion. Should I go to my neighbor who knows nothing about creating a keynote and value her opinion on it? But we do that. And that's where our sense of self-worth gets lost, because we're valuing opinions of people who we really shouldn't be.
So are we saying to them, choose who you listen to? Or, this isn't mine. It's, that saying, don't take any advice from anyone more fucked up than you.
Right.
That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's,
well, I'm saying, like, to lead your life. That's what my book is. Lead your life. Make some decisions in advance of whose opinion you should value, because then when they're sitting across the table from you at Christmas dinner, giving you opinions on something that you can literally listen to them, and then you can say, you can ask yourself, should I be valuing this opinion? Is this person an expert in what I'm trying to achieve? Because if they're not, don't value the opinion.
I totally understand. I'm just trying to figure out what the phrase is, like the teaching phrase. In my brain, I hear the word discern, but that's not it's not meh. It's more like discern, choose wisely,
choose your experts,
or just choose your experts. That's good. Or protect your value. Choose your experts. Value your value. Oh, value your value. If you loved your value, you wouldn't listen to people more fucked up than you. If you valued your value, it's kind of like your kids are a good example too, right? Like,
well, see, I get lost in the word value, because like when someone says to me, even now, what's your values? I'm like, I don't know. Like that's a hard word to me. So
I think maybe it's just, is it choose? It's not choose. Because sometimes people don't know, but is it like pause? Like you got to pause long enough to, what is it? I totally get it. I almost want to say honor or protect your value, or maybe, and you know what? Maybe this isn't a teaching point. Maybe we just give them a one-liner, a Corliss one-liner. Like, what would your quote be? If we quoted you, what would you say about this?
Well, it is, whose opinion are you valuing? Ask yourself, whose opinion are you valuing?
Okay, then that's it. So we just put that in quotes. Are you using a PowerPoint or no?
I will probably, yeah. Doesn't that keep you on track when you do a keynote?
Yeah, totally. I use a PowerPoint wherever I can.
Yeah.
And if I can't use it, if I can't use a PowerPoint, what I go in is knowing, I'll go impact of each act. So I'll go like worth, and then I'll go worth 8-year-old story. Right. Self-value, whose opinions are you, blah, blah, blah. So in my head, I just track, I keep it super, super simple. But if I don't, I would much prefer a PowerPoint. Okay. So we've got most of Act 2, which is the teaching stuff.
There is more. What about the one decision? You're one decision away from a different life. Oh, that might be Act 3.
Act 3. That's totally Act 3.
Okay.
I love that. Act 3. You are one decision
away from a totally different life. One decision. And I even will say to them, I want you to imagine right now, like think about something, a decision that you made that if you had not have made that decision, your life would have gone a completely different direction. So just imagine that for a second. So it could be you got married, you got divorced, you went to school, you attended that volunteer fundraiser and met the love of your life, whatever it is. You made one decision.
Now, think about that decision. And if you hadn't done that, how different your life would have gone. It would have gone a completely different path. Okay, you've just proven to yourself that you are one decision away from a completely different life. And that decision could happen today, tomorrow, it could happen in this moment. One decision can completely change your life. That's how much power you have.
Like, I love that. And that's how much purpose you have too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yes.
Because every decision is a playing out of that purpose. Okay, so that's your closing statement right there.
Every decision is playing out your purpose. Oh, you're writing that down. I have to write this down.
Closing statement. So what we don't have in here yet, and you need them, is so at the end of each act, you need to put in something self-reflective for them, something where they're reflective. So just like what you just did here, you had the question, what's one decision, right, that you made?
So they're reflecting, because they're reflecting on their lives, right? The one decision that they made, which inspires them to be like, oh, I have power. That the next decision, I can change my mind anytime. Okay, so where is that missing?
Let's start with worth. And I just want to brainstorm with you some questions that you can then put in and wherever you want them.
Okay.
What leading questions would you ask about worth?
Well, what are some of the things that happened to you that affected how you see yourself today? So think back on some things that happened in your history, in your past, that affected how you feel about yourself.
Positive or negative? Do you care?
Positive or negative, it doesn't matter. What are the things that are dominating your life or dominating your self-worth? Things that happen back there.
Love that. That first question, that last question, what is dominating your self-worth? It's a very impactful, short question. So the question is, what is dominating your self-worth? What are some things that have affected how you think about yourself? What are the things that have happened to you? Is dominating your self-worth? Shit, that is a good question.
Okay. Because it kind of like how Charlene had that at the accelerator there, where it was, the stories of your life.
Yeah.
Like your lifeline, right? And it didn't matter, positive or negative. It's like, what are the stories that are playing over, right?
Right.
So what's dominating your mind, or what's been dominating your self-worth is like those stories that are back there. There's some that we all have that are just like, we know they're there. And are they still dominating? Because that's where we have to acknowledge them and be aware of them in order to change them.
So here's how you can use questions in a keynote. It goes like this. What events from your past are still dominating your self-worth?
Yes. Yes.
And they answer, and then you go, okay, so what if, so then you put in a what if, what are the possibilities of your future that you want to dominate your self-worth? So you put in a what if statement.
Yeah.
So you go, this is what isn't working. What if this happens? And then you offer the question again. In
my conference last time, I said to them, okay, think about those things now. Are you okay with the next 5-10 years, that same pattern dominating your life?
Yeah.
Are you do you want that to continue? Or are you prepared to say, that's not the truth for me anymore?
Yeah, that's not the truth. So that's where we're going. Okay. That's not the truth for me. Okay. And then just as an add-on, whenever you say statements like that in a keynote or anytime you're teaching, that's not the truth. That's not the truth about me anymore. You have to give because the truth about me is.
Oh, because the truth about me is. Okay. So I have to add that sentence.
Okay. And what that's about, Corliss, that's about owning your teaching. That's you becoming a transformational teacher, not a directional teacher. A directional teacher says, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem. A transformational teacher says, here's the problem that's a lie, here's the truth about it. Or another version of a directional teacher is someone who just says, here's the truth, 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 but never actually connects the dots between the lie and the truth.
Okay, say that again. So a transformational teacher.
Yeah. Gives the whole story, basically, not just one part.
Which is?
Not just the negative or not just the positive, but gives the negative. So it gives the pain and the solution.
Okay.
I'll give you just a quick example so you can hold it in your head. I used to, in this workshop that I lead called Live Your Best Story, we had this thing on Saturday night called the chuck it bucket, which is really the fuck it bucket. And we're saying, fuck it. All the things we want to chuck into the fire, we chuck it into a bucket and then we put it in the fire. And after about 2 or 3 Live Your Best Stories, we had a lot of fun doing the chuck it bucket, but it would take us down. It was because it was all about what we were chucking. And then it wasn't until I had a therapist in my facilitation team that she's like, that's because you're only offering them half. So it turned into, I am so done with, facilitating. This is me now. I am so done with facilitating men to choose me. Because the truth is, I want a man who chooses me right from the get-go.
Okay.
Like we go down and then we go, oh my God. And because the truth is this, it's up. So we never end on a negative. We always end on the transformative thought.
Perfect. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Beautiful. So give me another question. What is dominating, what events from your past are dominating your self-worth? What else? It could be around worth. It could be around purpose.
What events? What question did you just say?
What events from your past are dominating your self-worth? We just need a list of other questions. It could be around purpose. It can be.
Okay. What were the lessons in all of those events? How did those help you become who you are today? Dig deep. Dig deep. There's lessons, there's teachings, there's gifts and everything. Not that long ago, I told a story about there was a terrible bus crash, and you probably heard about it. It was so huge, and like it directly affected my community. Like we all were very hockey here. We all know the hockey bus. We all had kids that we were connected to on that bus. It was such a tragedy, like just so tragic, and shook our entire community. Like I couldn't even barely eat for 3 days. Like it was just such a horrific thing for everyone here. How do you find purpose to that? Like it was just so senseless and so wrong. And yet there were so many gifts that came out of that. The way that the community bonded together, the way that the families supported, the strength of the survivors who inspire us. Like there was so many things that came, lessons and things that shook the rest of us to become better for it, that even in the worst of situations, there are gifts. Gifts present themselves through the lessons.
I want to add another sentence in your mind. I love that even in the worst places, there are gifts. Not dismissing or negating the pain.
Right.
Not making the gifts better than or the reason why, but there are gifts. Just want to give that. Give that to you as a safeguard for you.
Yeah.
Because people in pain, that sometimes people aren't ready.
They can't see it. Yeah.
And sometimes they're just honestly in their grieving process. They're not ready to give up their pain. And so if you just always give yourself, whenever you say something, what I call like, not just touch the bruise, whenever you sometimes touch the gash.
Right.
Always give yourself a grace statement.
Yeah. Well, that might, and you know what, that can be part of the forgiveness too, where it's like, you might not be there yet. And it's all a process. Like we're all going through a process. And that's also part of forgiveness, right? Or forgiving ourselves is recognizing that the stage that I'm at right now, I maybe am not ready to do that. But I just have to trust that somewhere down the road, I'm going to be able to find something out of this, that it served a purpose.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. What are the lessons in all those events? Dig deep. Tell me about power. What's the question about power that you want them to think about? Yeah,
where
power.
is my power in this? Ask themselves, where is my power in this?
Oh my God, that's such a great one.
Yeah. Where is my power in this? I learned that through 7 years in court. I would just constantly say to myself, where's my power in this? Do I have control over that? No, I don't. Where's my power in this then? My power is in not reacting. My power is in taking a moment to breathe. My power is in envisioning what's best for my family. My power is in giving that up and not worrying about it and letting it go. Where's my power? Are you there? Oh, crap. Hello? Oh, you're frozen. Are you still there, Tina? Oh, no. Are you still there? Oh, man, I look so bad today. I need a shower. Uh-oh. There you are. I thought it froze, right?
Yeah, I did that thing.
Oh, no worries. I was like, I wonder if I should go out so then I'm like going like this and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look so terrible. I need a shower.
I love it.
I love working from home.
I know, me too. Okay, I love where's my power in this? I love that. Like if that was, I'm just feeling the gravitas of that. Like this whole talk is, where is my power in this? Where is my purpose in this? It's just such a beautiful closing question. It's just so beautiful.
Okay, good.
Okay, so.
But they might not understand what that means, because people who are powerless don't realize that they actually have tons of choices.
But they will by the time you say it. When you say this in Act 3, so here's another trick that you can use or not use. Something I don't think I did it in the talk we did at the accelerator. No, but some talks I've given, I will have one question that I come back to again and again and again.
Okay.
So you could potentially say, at the end of each act, as a dramatic.
Where's my power in this?
Where's my power in this? Where's my or where's your power? Yeah. One sentence I used a lot when I did a talk for Charlene the first time, and it wasn't a question. It was, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in story. And so every time I added a piece to a story that in the talk, I would come back to, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in story. So I was like, 5 coincidences happened. And then I would punctuate with that statement. So you could potentially seed that all the way through.
Yes.
Okay.
Where's my power in this? Ask yourself, where's my power in this? Okay.
The other piece I want to give to you, which we can go through in our next call too, but is I want to give you the power of the pause.
Okay.
Half your work can be done sometimes in holding a pause for the room to think.
So in the self-reflection?
Yeah. So as you're playing with it this weekend and writing into it, write in your pauses.
Okay.
Each act needs at least one pause where you're not talking.
Okay.
Ask them a juicy question, hold the pause. 90 minutes is a long time. Do you are you comfortable facilitating questions or?
You mean with people asking me questions, you mean?
Yeah, or,
yeah.
You know, putting
well,
a question out there.
I have done this a few times. I've actually done 3 hours, 1, 2, 3 times this year. And I can't believe I can talk for 3 hours, but I can't. But I'm talking with them. Like there's even a segment like coming up as an example. There's a segment where Ask Me Anything. They can actually submit their questions and ask me anything. So then I just talk about that, like about how I see that or whatever they want to ask me. But that's a pretty controlled environment because I know who I'm speaking to and I open that too. I don't know if I want to do that with a room full of 600 people like I have on November 5th.
Yeah. Yeah. And because you're shooting it too. So I just want to make sure that in your 90 minutes that you break it up so it's not all talking and, you know.
So how do I do that? Because most keynotes are 90 minutes, are they not?
No, most keynotes are anywhere from 40 to 60 because the average person doesn't sit through more than 40 minutes anyway. 90 minutes, I mean, if you're in a show, like a one-woman show, a theater production is 90 minutes for sure. And there's movements, which is good. We've created 3 movements. So it's great.
Okay.
So just be aware, like, and part of having a 3X structure is it's kind of handled. Be aware, like put your pauses in between when they're going to get tired. So at 30 minutes, there's 3 killer questions and some pauses. Maybe you've got some exercises you want them to do with their journal. You know, maybe.
So I can stop and get them to write.
Oh, totally.
And same thing with like a handout. Because I did the power of one. I had them look back and put in their name and then people that they know that they've impacted in some way and how that could be their power of one. But I didn't really like it because what happened was it didn't go as I expected because people need me to give them something specific. So like I use the example of my mom. Well, that was pretty easy to paint because she had 8 kids. But it's like, how does it work in your workplace? Or like they needed me to give them something much more specific.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't embrace how they have the power of one.
You know what I think it is, honey? I think the handout or whatever the exercise they could do is declaring their value, like actually writing a declaration statement of their value.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. You've just given them 5 steps on how to do it. You know, you can also on the back of the page, they can take stock of all of their awesomeness, right? Like
I did have a handout and it actually had keywords on it. So, you know, what if you were to show up as the best person in the entire world, like who you are, who you want to be. Okay, never mind. Let's not even unpack all the the past. Let's just look at who you want to be right now. So what do you want to be known for? You want to be known for being friendly. You want to be honest, right? So I gave them a whole list of words, and then they had to circle their 3, if they had to choose 3 words. And then it's like, now, who are you? That's who you are. You are those things. Every day you declare yourself to be this person, and you show up as this person. And that's how you're going to create light, or that's how we're going to make an impact, because you're this light and you declare yourself to be this person. Now you go out and change the world, or you affect the world in a positive way because you go out and be that person. And when I say the world, what I mean is your world, because you go to your workplace and you show up as that friendly, cheerful, honest, helpful person. You've now impacted all of the people there. You go in your home. Are you that friendly, helpful, whatever person? You're that role model for your children. So now your children are being influenced, and they influence other people. There's your tidal wave. That's how you create it, by how you show up in the world, by consciously making those decisions every day to be that person.
Great. So they're going to leave with a declaration statement of who they are. I love it. So there's an activity. Well, I'll add that to your list of how you're going to break up your 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So the only thing we haven't actually gone over, although I think we did briefly, was Act 1. And I really, really love your story about being little and running away and getting behind the fence. My only notes that I had for you on that was give us more time with you behind the fence. I wrote down, I need more time around what it was like when you were peeking behind the fence. Like, what was it, cold outside? Was it, tell me more about that space. Like what were you wearing a dress? Were you wearing boots? Were you thinking, oh, I hope my brother comes to find me? Like, narrate it a bit more. Actually, like, pretend.
Yeah, well, and I came back into the house and everybody was watching TV as if it didn't even matter.
Right.
Everything went on.
Yeah. And then what did you think? What were the thoughts in your head? We just need more time in that story because it's an establishing story and it's so simple and beautiful. Flesh it out.
Okay.
Flesh it out. Give us the colors. Give us the smells. You go through all the senses. What was I feeling? What was I smelling? What did I hear? Take us right into that place. That was all I had.
Okay. And what about the little girl because I tell them about, like, do I continue with that eventually, because I made some very solid decisions about myself that eventually, I know it came up as I was writing it. I made those decisions that as soon as I could, I was getting out of there. And maybe I couldn't now, but I'm going to prove to you that I'm something.
For sure. I think that like, so you're going to have, I want to protect you from turning this into a 90-minute story about Corliss, because that's not what this is. This isn't your...
It isn't. No.
Right? This is about how to have self-worth, how to feel worthy. How do I figure out my value, and how do I own my power? Your talk is a how talk. It's not a who talk. It's a how talk.
Okay.
And so each act, I want you to choose one story for each act. And then
how much do I give them in that story? That's where I got lost.
I think it depends on how impactful the story is. Like, so for example, Act 1 is 30 minutes, right? So you've got 10 minutes to establish who you are, what this is about, why you're worth listening to. Then you've got 15 minutes about worthiness, which maybe that's where your story goes. Maybe the story goes there. Or maybe your story is actually, maybe, I think your story goes there. I think your story goes there. And then you have your...
My story goes where? In Act 2?
No. So Act 1, you have 10. So I'll break it down for you. Act 1, first 10 minutes. This is what we're talking about. This is why I'm here. This is the statement. So like my statement was, you're made as something for something, right? So your statement is going to be, you are powerful and you have purpose. Or the power of one is knowing your power and your purpose, right? So that's your first 10 minutes is just establishing who you are, what you're all about, what you believe in, right? And making sure they get it.
Okay.
Then the next 15 minutes is the meat, where you got to tell us about self-worth. So it's probably your story, right? About the fence, with a couple of teaching points or reflective questions about their own self-worth. And maybe the next you give us, maybe you need 2 stories. Maybe you tell us a little bit about your beginning as a teenager and how you're like, that's it, I'm out of here. It's not that's it, I'm out of here, because that's it, I'm out of here led you to the teenager story. But I like that's it, I'm worth more than this.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how Act 1 ends. You get to play with the timing of everything. One of the things that I suggest to people is remember, like give what you're writing the time it deserves. So if you're in a story that needs 30 minutes to tell it, then that's what you give it. If it only needs 5 minutes, then only give it 5 minutes. Don't make it fit.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so if the story only needs 5 minutes, then give it 5 minutes, and then you've got to fill in with something else. Reflective questions, a handout, something else.
Well, even when I'm saying everything has a purpose, I can't remember which act that's in, but it's like everything serves a purpose. I could honestly could I not? Like 4 sentences about in reflecting on my own life.
Yeah.
I had to leave that marriage because I couldn't grow into who I am to be today if I had in that space. That really I grew to I couldn't be free to be who I could be.
Yeah.
Like whatever. So it could be 1 sentence. I had to have those girls that were mean to me in high school say those things, whatever. Like it could be literally 1 sentence. So when I look at my own key points, so how I can't remember where we're doing that now because I didn't write it down, but
actually the third act is purpose, but that's okay.
Well, but we were talking about like the stories that dominate our life. So it's like I had
act 2. Yeah.
Okay. So I had these 4 things that were dominating my life and but those things had to happen for me to become who I am now. It served a purpose.
Yeah. It's a good one. Yeah.
So it could almost just be what sentences like that like you said, touch the bruise.
Touch the bruise. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then, the audience is smart. They're going to know if I'm like, that I couldn't have become this. I couldn't be even doing this because I can't find my words right now, but the relationship, I could have never grown to do this in that relationship.
Yeah. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to summarize almost in like a templated form for you, so that all you have a starting point.
Okay.
So over the weekend, you can just plunk it all in. I want to give you permission to be the storyteller that you are, but remember, stay anchored in the impact each act is about. So Act 1 is about worth. Don't talk about self-value in Act 1. Only talk about worth.
Act 1 is about worth. Okay.
Worth. Yeah. Self-worth, like worthiness, like understanding what is worthiness, feeling unworthy, the stories of unworthy. It's all about worthy. Act 2 is about how to value yourself. And it's all how, right? You've got those 5 steps. It's all about self-value, taking stock, all of that. And Act 3 is about power and purpose. And of course, the whole overarching story of the whole talk is power and purpose.
Yeah.
But we get there through worthy, self-value, and power. I think your edge of growth as a speaker is trusting your audience to do half of the work.
Mm-hmm. They're smart. They know. They know. I don't have to give it all. They're gonna put it together. Touch the bruise.
Touch the bruise. Ask more, tell less. I think that's your edge and it makes sense to me because someone who struggles with self-worth, we tend to compensate.
Right.
And we compensate by giving more. It's like, trust your audience.
Well, that's what empowerment is. Empowerment is giving them the power to find the answers. That's what coaching is, right? And you're right. Charlie, I do have a tendency to want to I want to fix it. I want to help you. Let's get there. Let's do it. But they're not there. They have to catch up, right?
And transformation doesn't happen from the teacher. It happens from the student.
Good point. I know that. Mm-hmm.
I know. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a template based on all the things that we've talked about. I'm going to give you in that template suggestions of things that could fill in these gaps. There's lots of things that could go in there. And your job is to write and play this weekend.
Totally excited to do that.
Good. And then, so let me just open my calendar then. Let's just do figure out next week's.
I'm hoping we can do Tuesday or Wednesday because Thursday I'm away. Thursday and Friday I'm away. So
if you're able to send it to me ahead of time.
Okay.
Then I can read it.
Yes, totally. I'll send it to you.
Okay. I can do Tuesday afternoon. I'll be back on oh no, I can't. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm traveling on Tuesday. This might have to be, did you just say Tuesday or Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday?
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
What time is it there right now? God, I'm bad
now
at this.
It's 1:30.
Okay, so we're an hour apart, so it's 2:30 here. So I'm an hour ahead of you. Okay.
What do you have on Wednesday?
Wednesday, I am booked at 9 a.m. until 9:30, and then from 10:30 to 11. And then that's it. So I'm free in the afternoon.
Okay. This is Wednesday. Okay. So how about, 3:00 my time is 4:00 your time, right? Yes.
Yes.
Can you do 4:00 or is that too late?
No, I can do 4. It's just my son's home, but school, but he's 12, so whatever. He's fine.
And let me see if I can rearrange. If I can rearrange my afternoon and flip it, like I could potentially do 12 to 2, which would be 1 to 3 for you. Which is the only reason that's good is because then I can actually work on some before he gets home on the bus at 5 after 4. Okay.
While it's fresh, work on it. But you know what? Honestly, it's fine. I don't really want you to have to go and flip your whole day for me either. So
I'm going to put it in. And see, and I'll let you know if I can flip it. I'll try. And if I can't, I can't, but
Okay. So what time would it be again?
It would be 3:00 my time, which is 4:00 your time.
Or 4:00 my time. See, I keep going backwards. So 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah. But I will try to bump it to 1 to 3 for you.
Okay. Yeah. Actually looking at that, because I had it the wrong way. That would be amazing if you could, only because he swims at 6:30 and I have to feed him supper before we go. So, because that takes me right till 6. Yeah.
Okay, let me see what I can do. Okay. I will work on it right away.
Okay. And you're going to send me these notes because I'm actually going to work on it ASAP.
Yeah. I'm going to do it right now. Do it right now while it's fresh in my head.
And when you say it's a template, I plug it in, you said?
I'm not actually sending you a template. It's like I'm giving you a rundown,
Okay.
and then you just plunk things in.
Okay. Fabulous. So excited. Thank you. Bless your heart. Have a lovely Thanksgiving weekend.
You too, honey. You too. Have a great one.
I will. Well, I did Thanksgiving with my kids last weekend. So this weekend I was going to go away to Edmonton, and then I was like, I'm really, the way I was feeling. You ever have where you're your head's so full and it's this isn't even fun now. This is just feeling like work. It's
that's how it was feeling the last few days. So I was like, yeah, you can't write from here. You have to take care of yourself, and you need to like decompress and like let yourself sleep and things like that. So yeah, shower.
I know.
Yeah. So it's like this. Yeah. So I canceled that trip, and I'm just going to be home. It'll be good. It'll be good for me. So it'll be a perfect time for me to write. It'll be able to come right from here.
Beautiful. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will look forward to your notes, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Okay. Bye,
Okay,
Katie.
bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.